I can't help thinking about poor Tom Hales and Pat Hart, Hannah sighed, lying down again. We've already sent word to our women's spies. They'll find out where they are for sure. Now, so, you're right. Tomorrow will be a long day. The volunteers will be fierce hungry, and Daddy says we have a lot of them coming. At least we've clean clothes for them, Nuala added, not daring to tell her sister that she'd been asked by Mrs. Houghton to return to the big house until a replacement nurse had been found. I'll talk to Daddy in the morning, she thought, as her eyelids drooped and she fell asleep. What do you think about it, Hannah? Daniel asked, as the family sat around the table for breakfast the next morning. Even though it was only 7 o'clock, the cows had been milked, and the pony and cart dispatched with Fergus to deliver the churns to the creamery. I'd say she shouldn't go again, Daddy. There's plenty to do here for a start, and that's without our work for coming on. Who'll help Mammy with the extra cooking and washing we're doing these days? Never mind picking the vegetables and helping you with the harvest coming up. I've my job as a seamstress, and it's just not right to have one of our own working up at the big house. I'll cope. I have Fergus and Christy after all, Eileen said, patting Christy's hand as he ate breakfast beside her. She looked at her husband. "'Tis up to you, Daniel." Hannah made to open her mouth, but Daniel put up a hand to silence her. "We've many volunteers who are spies working for us, and you women are some of the most successful, because the British don't suspect you." "Yet," muttered Hannah. "If Nuala's been offered a temporary position at the big house, she'll be able to hear kitchen gossip from the other staff about who's visiting. Sir Reginald has plenty of military friends who might be inclined to be talking to him about any planned activities, especially after a few drops of whiskey." "I'm not likely to overhear chatter from the downstairs drawing room, Daddy," Nuala interjected. "'Tis an enormous house." "No, but sure, your young fellow might be chatting to his daddy from time to time about what's happening. 'Twould be useful to have an ear to hear it." "Philip's fond of a drop of whiskey himself," Nuala smiled. "Then feed him extra and find out what he knows," Daniel said with a wink. "Besides, how would it look if you turned them down? They'd be thinking 'twas an honour for you to work so closely with the family." "So you want me to carry on?" "You have no choice, Nuala," said Eileen. "When the big house calls, we jump." Hannah rolled her eyes. "Come the grand day when we win, we'll be having that family out of there." "Is the sun for us or against us, Nuala?" asked Christy. "How can you even ask that question?" cried Hannah. "Let your sister answer," said Daniel. "I'd say that Philip is against any war at all, and just wants it to stop," said Nuala. "Philip, is it now?" Hannah's eyes glinted at her sister. "Everyone calls him that, because being called Sir reminds him of his time when he was a captain in the trenches," Nuala shot back. "I won't be doing this if I'm getting this pile of shite out of your mouth." "Nuala!" Eileen slammed the table. "I'll not hear that kind of language under my roof. And you, miss," she said, turning to Hannah, "will keep your comments to yourself. Now then, I better be getting started. Do we know how many men we're expecting tonight?" she asked Daniel. 15 or 20, and I've sent word to Timoleague to get some scouts to patrol up top whilst they're all here. There's a good few of them on the wanted list," said Daniel. "I've rounded up some local common man women to help with the cooking," added Hannah. "Make sure they hide their bicycles in the barn behind the hay bales," Christy reminded her. "Of course." Hannah stood up. "I'll be seeing ye." When Hannah had gone, Nuala helped her mother clear the bowls away, leaving them to soak in one of the water barrels outside. "I'll be in the far field if you need me," Daniel said, as he strode out of the front door. "Daddy!" Nuala caught up with him. "Will Finn be here tonight?" "I couldn't say. What with Tom and Pat taken, they're all on extra alert," Daniel said, and strode off with a wave of one of his large, brawny hands. Hannah was as good as her word, and by the time she and Nuala left, 2 women from Cumminaman were already in the kitchen, helping Mammy with the cooking for that night. Nuala's heart thumped as she cycled towards Argadine House, not only at returning to it, but at the thought of the men from the 3rd West Cork Brigade, which included her beloved Finn, making their way in secret to convene at Cross Farm's old barn. "Wherever you are, darling, I pray you're safe," she whispered under her breath. "Well, hello there, Nuala," said Lucy as she walked into the kitchen. "I'm hearing you were a great hit with the young master." "Was I?" "Oh, yes. Mrs. Houghton told me he'd said that you had far better nursing skills than the last girl." "I wasn't doing any nursing," Nuala frowned. "He'd a way of doing most things for himself. All I did was give him a quick wash before bed, then pop him under the covers and feed him his pills." "Well, you got something right. Mrs. Houghton's out at the moment, so 'twill be Maureen taking you up to him." Maureen duly arrived and escorted Nuala upstairs without saying a word. She stopped just outside Philip's door. "I'd be grateful if you would ring down for the young master's tea at 4 prompt. The sandwiches grow stale if they're left for too long, and I've other things to be getting on with." With that, she opened the door to let Nuala in. Philip was sitting by the window in the same place she'd first seen him yesterday. Remnants of his lunch were on a tray on the table facing the damask sofa. "I'll take this out for you now, if you're finished," said Maureen. "Thank you." Philip said no more until the door closed behind her. "A real old sourpuss, isn't she? I've been told she lost her husband in the Great War, so I try to be forgiving," Philip added. "Sit down, Nuala." He indicated the sofa. "Have you had a pleasant morning?" She suppressed a smile at the word pleasant, given she hadn't stopped for a second, without time to even eat any lunch herself after she had served it to her family. "Nuala, you look quite pale. Can I ring for some tea? Sugar always perks one up, I find." "Oh, I'd be grand, Philip. My morning was pleasant enough, thank you." "No, I insist," he said, grabbing the bell that hung by a string from his wheelchair. "I can see hunger and fatigue at 20 paces, and we simply cannot start another game of chess until you've put some sustenance inside you." "Really, Philip, Nuala could feel a blush rising up her cheeks. "It's no problem. These days the parlourmaid has hardly rushed off her feet. None of Father's English friends, or Irish for that matter, are particularly keen to travel down